Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today I'm answering yet again one of your questions, and I did get this question quite a few times already on this channel in the comments, so I decided to make a video answering this question. Hopefully this video will help you to kind of navigate in depending on what kind of situation you have. But the question goes like this, basically. Can I apply for citizenship? US citizenship, that is, obviously, with a dismissed misdemeanor. Okay, so in order to answer this question, because the answer is not so straightforward, it's not exactly no, and it's not exactly yes. And hopefully by the end of this video, you'll understand why. I have in front of me, as you can see, usas.gov, a page on the official US Citizenship and Immigration Services website. Now, all the information that I provide on this channel is directly from this website, which is official government source, and I don't provide any information from some kind of online forums or attorney websites or anything like this. I go directly to uscis.gov. Now, I myself am not an attorney. I'm not an immigration practitioner. This is not a legal advice in any way or anything like this. I want to thank everyone who is supporting this channel with your donations and your super likes. This helps me keep going with this channel and upload more videos more often. So, you are a lawful permanent resident. You are considering applying for the naturalization, getting your citizenship in the United States of America. But along the way, somewhere in those 5 years, since you had your green card, since you had your permanent residence, you had some kind of misdemeanor. You had some kind of encounter with the law enforcement, right? That had a situation. Let's just say that. However, the case did not go through, and the judge dismissed the case. So now you have a dismissed misdemeanor in your record. Are you able to apply? First of all, yes, you can definitely apply for naturalization. No matter what kind of situation you have, you can definitely apply for naturalization. Now, whether you will be given that naturalization, granted whether you will be naturalized, that's probably the right word for that one, is obviously going to be depending. It's going to depend on the immigration officer that you will have your interview with. Now, the process of naturalization, I actually done a separate video specifically on it, step by step describing how you can apply. And now, since somewhat recent, you can actually apply online, so it makes the process much easier. You're sending some documents, and then eventually your interview is scheduled. You go for an interview with an immigration officer, which is basically the last official step, your civics exam and your interview. If you pass that, there is obviously the ceremony, but that's just kind of it's more so a conclusion. All right, it's a ceremony. You're just going there, receiving your naturalization certificate, and everything is great. So there's no stress about the ceremony. But the interview, there might be some stress, especially considering that you have some kind of history with the law enforcement. Now, I have this page open in front of me from uscs.gov. I'm going to put the link in the description below so you can read through it. But I wanted to go through some eligibility requirements for naturalization and point out a couple of things that you want to keep in mind. So let's go through the eligibility requirements. First of all, you have to be at least 18 years old when you submit the form N400. N400 is the form that you submit in order to apply for naturalization, application for naturalization. Show you have been a lawfully admitted permanent resident of the United States for at least 5 years. Now, to be specific, you can apply for your naturalization 4 years and 8 months. No, actually 9 months. So you can apply 3 months before you hit that 5 years if you want to be early. I recommend just waiting the 5 years and then applying. 3 months after waiting 5 years doesn't make that much difference. Demonstrate continuous residence in the United States for at least 5 years immediately before the date you file Form N400. Continuous residence meaning that you were actually a resident of the United States. You stayed here, you lived here, you have, your house, whether you own it or rent it or apartment, whatever it is, some kind of residence. you have your bank account, you have your job, all of the things that demonstrate basically that you are residing in the United States of America. Show you have been physically present in the United States for at least 30 months out of the 5 years immediately before the date you file Form N-400. So don't leave the country for too long, all right? It's very, very important. Show you have lived for at least 3 months in a state or USCIS district having jurisdiction over your place of residence. All right, pretty straightforward, that one. Show that you're a person of good moral character. Now, we will come back to this one. Demonstrate an attachment to the principles and ideas of the US Constitution, which kind of goes somewhat hand in hand with this one, but we will come back to these two. Be able to read, write, and speak basic English. That's obviously for civics exam. Have knowledge and understanding of the fundamentals of the history. That's part of the civics exam. And take an oath of allegiance to the United States. Taking an oath of allegiance to the United States, you do it during your ceremony. All right, that's the final stage. Once you got there, you're good. So let's concentrate on showing that you are a person of good moral character. And that's where that culprit kind of comes into play. Whether can I apply for citizenship with a dismissed misdemeanor or no? Okay, so yes, you can apply. Will you be granted though? Will you be naturalized? Will your application be approved? Will you pass the interview with an immigration officer? Now that's a whole different story, and it depends on the immigration officer. Technically, because your misdemeanor was dismissed, okay, it was dismissed. So there are charges against you. You go in front of the judge, your case is dismissed. So something happened, not enough to prove the charges, some kind of technicality, whatever, it doesn't matter. Your case is dismissed. You might think, well, because it's dismissed, everything should be good. But here's the thing, here's the culprit. It's not necessarily whether it was dismissed or not. It really more has to do with demonstrating the good moral character. And here is the thing, even with a dismissed misdemeanor, sometimes that good moral character, it can be undermined by the whole situation, depending on what kind of situation it was. For example, let's say there is a charge against you. You go, you plead guilty, right? Something happens, whatever, your case is dismissed. The immigration officer might say, hey, there was this charge against you and you pleaded guilty. Yes, your case was dismissed, but you pleaded guilty. That already kind of demonstrates that you agreed with the charges, so the charges were valid. Maybe they were dismissed on a technicality, but the charges nevertheless were valid. So it shows, negative impact on that good moral character, right? Or it can also depend on what kind of charges. Yes, maybe there were not enough evidence to actually press, to go through with the case. But nevertheless, depending on what kind of charges, again, that can have a stain on that good moral character. So, as you can see, with that being said, now there is a little bit of kind of back and forth. Now, it leaves the decision up to the immigration officer that is actually interviewing you. Now, there are a few recommendations. If you ask around, if you ask the attorneys, if you look around the internet, you will find a few recommendations. Like, for example, waiting and giving it a little bit more time. For example, you had that encounter with law enforcement, 2 years ago, and right now, at this very moment, your 5 years have passed, and you're thinking about applying. 5 years being a resident, right, having a green card, you're thinking about applying for the citizenship. Don't do it now. Wait another maybe 2 years. Let that time pass. There are a lot of recommendations like this. Do they have some credibility to them? Maybe. But again, this does not come from the official source like USCIS.gov. What comes from the official source like USCIS.gov is that you have to show that you are a person of good moral character. So, that means that the only real recommendation that anyone can extract from it, and it's not really my recommendation, it really is the recommendation of USCIS, all right, because it's written here, it's in front of you, it's on their official website, is that if you do have any kind of encounter with law enforcement, whether it is dismissed misdemeanor or it's not a dismissed misdemeanor, whatever it is, make sure that you have a very, very good explanation. First of all, you have all the documentation in front of you showing that, hey, if it was a false charge, if it was, if you were wrongfully charged, you can show it to the immigration officer. And if you cannot do that, if you really messed up somewhere along the way, you got in trouble, and your good moral character is now undermined, make sure that you take enough time to build that good moral character back and have that proof. For example, if let's say, I don't know, there was some kind of misdemeanor charge, maybe it wasn't dismissed, maybe it was dismissed, it doesn't matter. But because we all know, all right, we know what we've done. If we were charged wrongly, okay, we know that. If we were charged for something for a reason, we also do realize that. So be honest with yourself. Don't try to present yourself as something else. Be honest with yourself and be honest with the immigration officer. And if there was really something serious involved with, law enforcement and there was a criminal charge against you, take time to build up that good moral character back. Now you show that, okay, time has passed, you haven't done anything like this. Instead, you've done this. You've been working, you've been, paying your taxes, you've been doing some kind of training, some kind of education. Maybe you did some kind of charity work, maybe you did some kind of faith-based work, maybe you were helping out some kind of non-profit organization. Whatever it is that can demonstrate, okay, yes, I've messed up, I've made a mistake, I feel bad for it. Here is everything that I kind of done for, almost like repentance, right, in a way, to show we are not showing God, right, but instead we're showing to the immigration officer as much as you can with the documentation, showing them that, look, yes, I did a mistake there and I went the wrong way, but now I'm a changed person and I've been doing great things ever since, right? I've been building my moral character. Again, at the end of the day, it will be the discretion of the immigration officer. It will be up to them to decide whether they go along with it or not. So it's very important to make a really, really good impression on them. Make sure that you're dressed professionally, clean, professional look. Make sure that you present yourself very polite, very professional, very organized, all the documents organized. Just prepare for it like this is the most important job interview that you ever had in your life, right? For whatever, the most important interview in general that you ever had in your life, and you want to present yourself the best that you can, right? And do that. And honestly, you should do it even without any kind of misdemeanors or any kind of history of being involved with law enforcement. But even more so, if you do have some kind of stain on your history. With that being said, I also wanted to kind of bring something up. Very important is that if there are some kind of things on your history that might have a negative impact, applying for naturalization might bring those things from the past. Maybe they were 3-4 years ago, right? And you moved on and you've been doing good. But now that you're applying for naturalization, obviously all that history is reviewed and whatever happened in the past is brought back to light. Okay, so it does bring back things from the past, and it might have negative impact on you personally, because it's a lot of times it's not pleasant, but at the same time, if there is some kind of something serious that is involved, some kind of ground inadmissibility, now you've been doing fine with a green card, now you're going through the interview and all of this came up, and it might have a negative impact in general on your immigration process. So keep that in mind. That advice, it might be valid taking time, but again, if you are taking time, don't just sit around and wait. Okay, I'm going to wait 2 years and I'm going to apply for my naturalization. No, in these 2 years, do something good, all right, that can contribute to that good moral character image in the eyes of the immigration officer. So hopefully, as you can see, it's a one single question, seemingly straightforward, but the answer is, it's not as straightforward, as not as simple, and that's the case most of the times with really anything that is involved in the immigration process. That's why I've started this channel, because I myself am an immigrant and been through a lot of different things during my immigration process. So hopefully I was able to help at least someone with this video. So if you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments below, and as you can see, I will be happy to answer, elaborate as much as I can. As always, thank you very much for watching. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.